After my hip replacement, there were a lot of items that my doctor did not provide to me that ended up making my life so much more comfortable. There were other items that friends and family suggested I get that I found really weren't very useful for me. In this video, I'm going to let you know what those items were, what worked, what didn't work, and hopefully you'll come up with some ideas of things that may make your recovery a little bit better. Hi, I'm Pamela, and I had a total hip replacement 2 years ago when I was 56. I live in a neighborhood where there are a lot of people who are older than me. And when word got around that Pamela's having her hip replaced, all of a sudden, everybody had items that they wanted to let me borrow. I had 3 different people offer to loan me their walkers. I had one person offer to let me borrow their portable commode. That was a little too personal for my personal opinion. However, people also gave me some other tools that they had used when they've had different types of surgeries. It turned out that my doctor had made arrangements for somebody to deliver to me a brand new walker, cane, and portable commode. I was also sent home from my surgery wearing compression socks, which I think I was supposed to wear those for 2 weeks. I do remember being very happy when I no longer needed to wear those socks. I am not a doctor, and I am not giving you medical advice. My purpose for this video is for me to share with you different tools that I found helpful, so that way when you have conversations with your doctor, you can ask him or her whether any of these things might be appropriate for you. I create a new video every single week. So if you haven't already done so, please take a moment right now to subscribe to my channel, because that way you'll get all of the information that I have planned for you into the future. Prior to my surgery, my doctor let me know that I would want to put ice on my incision as soon as I got home and for probably the next several days, if not longer. I found out that there's kind of a gadget called a cold therapy circulation machine. That's something I actually found on Amazon, and it had like 8,000 positive reviews. It's basically like a cooler, that you'd put your beer or your Coke in if you were traveling someplace, but it's got a tube on it that connects to a pad that you can put on your area of injury. For my case, of course, it was my hip. What happens is that machine is kind of electric, and when you turn it on, it continuously circulates cold water from the cooler through the tube into that pad. People really, really seem to love that machine, and I actually got really excited about the machine, so I actually ordered one on Amazon. And in the notes below, I'll put a link to the one that I ordered. However, don't get too excited, because when it actually showed up, by that time I had kind of changed my mind on spending a lot of money on that type of machine, and I didn't even open the box. I just took it straight back and returned it directly to Amazon. What I got instead were some gel-filled flexible ice packs, and I found that those actually worked perfectly fine for me. Yes, when they started to melt, the condensation would get all drippy, and I'd have to have a towel, kind of sop that up. And yes, they only really stayed cold on my leg for about 20 minutes. But I bought 2 of them, and so one of them always kind of lived in the freezer, and the other one would be on my thigh. And then, periodically just go ahead and swap those out. Now, for me, those were perfectly fine. My partner is retired, so he was with me all day long in the days after my surgery. So he was the one who was actually going to the freezer and swapping out those packs for me. I know some people don't have the luxury of a full-time caretaker after their surgery. Maybe they have somebody for the first night, but then that person has to go to school or go back to work, and they may be home by themselves for longer periods of time. if that might be your situation, you may want to then consider if it would make sense for you to invest in one of these machines that supposedly keep the cold water flowing for as long as overnight. When my walker was delivered to my house, it showed up with a fabric pocket on the front. Here's a picture of what that particular pocket looked like. I decided that I really, really, really loved that pocket. The one that I had, it was kind of, it was cheap. It was just provided by the Walker, I guess, distribution company. But it was good enough for me to put my cell phone in it, to put my earphones in it, the TV remote control if I wanted that, maybe some tissues. The problem with using a walker, of course, is both hands are on the walker when you are trying to walk around. And so it was nice having that pocket just that way wherever I went, I would always have the things with me that I thought that I would need to have at hand. In fact, a couple of weeks after I had my hip replacement, by then I was no longer using the walker. I walked about 3 houses down to my neighbor who had just had her knee replaced. She didn't have a pocket on her walker. And so the next time I went and visited her, I took my pocket and I donated it to her. So I don't have that pocket anymore. I did check on Amazon, and they actually have some, we'll call them, luxury pockets for walkers that have things for cup holders. If I ever find myself in a situation again where I need to use a walker, or a friend or loved one has to have a walker, I will absolutely buy one of those types of pockets. So that way that person, which hopefully won't be me, but that person at least can be sure that they have everything that they need with them as they're kind of making their way through their day. Ladies, this next topic is for you. Now, gentlemen, just kind of bear with us here for the next minute or two, or listen on, and you might get a little bit of insight into women if you don't already have this. I ended up buying, before my surgery, what are called Boyshorts Underwear. Now, some people may say, well, why do you need to worry about your underwear? My incision was using what's called the anterior approach, meaning the incision was made on the front of my hip, right kind of at the crease of where when I bend my leg, that's where the incision was. That's also where the elastic from my regular panties sits on me. I didn't want to worry about having that elastic, getting messed up with my stitches. I didn't know how it would feel. I didn't know how swollen I would be on that area. And that's why I ordered the Boyshorts underwear. Now, some people may say, why bother wearing underwear at all? For me, I actually wore the same pair of black sweatpants literally every single day for at least the first week of after my surgery. So I really appreciated having clean, fresh panties to wear every single day as well. I would imagine that those of you who perhaps have the posterior approach to your surgery, meaning they are doing the incision on your backside, you may end up with the same questions about what would be most appropriate for you. And my hunch is these types of Boyshorts would probably work perfectly well for you as well. Just be careful about what type you buy because you want to be sure that the legs are long enough, the size is big enough, so that way they don't ride up when you are walking around. And ladies, you know what I mean by that. One thing I did not buy was any type of pill organizer. Some of my pills were supposed to be taken every 6 hours. Some of them were every 4 hours. Some of them were twice a day. Some of them were once a day. So my partner ended up making a chart, and he just literally lined up all the pills on the chart. So that way it was easy for him and for me also to know what pill should I be taking at what time. Having that chart and the pills just kind of laying on the kitchen counter worked perfectly fine for us. However, we don't have children in the house. We don't have a cat jumping on the counter. We don't even really have any adults who might be in the house kind of trying to move things around or tidy things up for us. So that's what worked for us. If you're in a situation where it would be best for you to keep your medication tucked away, you may want to consider having some type of pill organizer, especially if you're going to find that you're at home by yourself for long periods of time during the day. That way, there's no guesswork involved. You know what time it is, what pill to take, and you should be good to go. Several days after my surgery, another one of my neighbors walked over to my house and she gave me one of those kind of like long grabber tools that you kind of squeeze the handle on. And the other end, it picks up things. I've heard of people using those to even put their socks and their shoes and even their underwear on. For me, I found that it was probably a little bit too late for me to have that. By the time that she brought it to me, a lot of the real intense stiffness and swelling had started to reduce. Again, because I had the surgery on the front of my hip, I was allowed to bend forward if I needed to pick up something off the floor. I know when my mother had her hip replacement surgery 20 years ago, and she had the incision on her backside, her instructions were not to do that. So she had one of those grabber things, and she found it was super, super helpful for her. So that may be one thing that you might want to have kind of queued up before your surgery to see if it's something that is helpful for you. And if you find that you don't need it, you can just go around and return it. Before my surgery, I thought I was really clever, and I bought some easy to put on shoes that did not have laces. After my surgery, I realized I had bought the wrong thing. The one that I bought, the shoes that I bought, while they didn't have laces that didn't need to be tied, I still kind of needed to bend down and actually put my feet into the shoes and kind of tug the shoe up over my heel. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, bending down wasn't a restriction for me, but it wasn't necessarily super comfortable for me either. What I should have gotten are called hands-free slip-in shoes. Skechers has some of those slip-ins, and from what I understand, kind of the part that cups your heel is actually practically rigid, so you can just kind of slide your foot in without having to bend down. I could have worn socks with grippers on them as I walked around the house, and that would have been perfectly fine. However, my doctor and my physical therapist both really encouraged me to get out of the house and go for little walks in my neighborhood. First couple of days, it was, a walk to the house next door and back. But for something like that, if I was going to be outside, I really needed to have actual legitimate shoes. When I was preparing this video, I did see that Amazon has shoe horns with long handles on them. I didn't think to get something like that before my surgery, so that might be a good option for some of you as well. Or if you do have one of those long-handled grabber things I just talked about, give that a try before your surgery and see if maybe that would be good enough to help you get your shoes on and off. One of the things that women have asked me about, again, we're back to the ladies, is how did I shave my legs after my surgery? And the answer is, I didn't. Now, I didn't think about shaving my legs for probably a good month after my surgery. Don't freak out about that. In my defense is it was wintertime. Once I kind of got past the black sweatpants phase of my recovery and was wearing other kind of looser everyday pants that I already owned, it was cold. I wasn't wearing shorts. I wasn't wearing skirts. So I really didn't care that I wasn't shaving my legs. Amazon does sell long-handled razors. If you're concerned about shaving your legs, or maybe you're having your surgery sometime in the summer, that may be something that you might want to check out. Continuing with the subject of personal maintenance, I have another video where I talk about taking a shower in the first days and weeks after my surgery. One of the things that I mentioned in that video is before my surgery, I bought 2 suction cup grabber bars. Now, these are ones that were not installed permanently into my shower, but I found that they were super helpful for me, kind of to hang on for balance. Showers are slippery. And so, having a hip replacement, you are rickety. So slippery and rickety is not a good combination in the shower. That's why I found that those suction cup grabber bars were super helpful for me. I knew I couldn't rely on them to hold my entire body weight, but they gave me a sense of confidence and helped me feel a little bit more balanced. I still actually use those today. One of them I moved into the guest bathroom, but the other one is still in the bathroom that I use every single day. I put my hand on it when I'm stepping out of the shower, not necessarily because of my hip replacement, but simply because it seems like a smart thing to do. If you decide to buy one of those suction cup grabber bars or any type of grabber bar, please be sure that you read the instructions carefully. So that way you know what you can and cannot do with a particular type of grabber bar that you might have in your home. If you've already had your hip replacement surgery, are there other items that you found were super helpful for you? If so, please leave those in the comments below this particular video. If you are planning your surgery and you're wondering about something that I didn't mention here, go ahead and ask that question in the comments as well. At the time that I'm publishing this video, my channel is still small enough so that way I am responding to every single comment personally, usually within 24 hours. If you found this video interesting or helpful, please subscribe to this channel. I talk about hip replacements and also other ways that people just like you and me can live more vibrant lives. Until next time, take care.